Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back, and it's episode 42 of The Brunch and Judge.
Yes, it is.
We are your hosts. I'm April,
And I'm Claire.
and this week we are going to delve into the true crime, paranormal, weird stories of elephants.
I
Y'all are
apologize
listening.
in advance for putting that on the wheel.
Are you kidding? This one, I'm going to be honest. You guys are going to love this episode because one of the things I brought to you, I'd never heard of, and it's amazing. I mean, like,
Yes, I can't
it,
wait.
it is all of the amazing feminine power of joy that you'll ever
Ooh,
want. So
fancy.
stay with us. It's worth it. It's worth it. But before that, Claire, what are
Yes.
you judging this week?
Well, as most of the world knows, Taylor Swift is going on tour.
She's doing what now? I had no
Yeah,
idea.
I know, right? I'm not judging her. Let me, for those of you who know me, you know that I started hating Taylor Swift. I did not like her at all when she was country music. Her songs were kind of whiny, and I
I
mean,
did.
I like maybe could listen to one, but there were
Say
some of them I just really could not
I
deal with.
I liked her Teardrops on My Guitar, I think was the name of the song, maybe.
Absolutely not.
And it was like the
No.
one song that I was like, okay, it's not. It's a little whatever. It was like, okay, okay. Then she, got way too cool for me. So
Right, right. No, that song, I think it was because they played it
they played it
so
incessantly.
much.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you get on the radio station, it was just because the song starts with like a guitar strum.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just that boom, and I'm like, nope, changing it. Like I don't even have to hear the rest of it. It's just that one single guitar strum, and I'm just like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't care for that song. I mean, I kind of liked oh, what was the Juliet one? The
Oh yes,
love
Love
story.
Story. I like that one.
That one was not bad, but again, they played it out.
Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
really started to like her more as she crossed
Mm-hmm.
over and became, and even now, like her latest song, I was just like, oh my god. Like it's like stab me in the heart, because it's like I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can relate to some of that. But anyway, but my judge is Ticketmaster. Like her event like broke Ticketmaster.
I mean,
And it's like, are you kidding me? Like you all should have been prepared for this.
well,
I mean,
and Ticketmaster is a giant fucking scam anyway. Let's just
oh,
be honest.
100%.
And so, and it's
100%.
artists are kind of forced to use Ticketmaster because it's where we are in the land of
Right.
monopoly bullshit. But like, you're right. Ticketmaster has been around long enough to have gotten their shit together and to not have failed as epically as they
Oh my
failed. Because
gosh, I know.
I,
And
of
I
course,
wasn't trying to get
mm,
tickets,
I was
mind you.
not,
It was
but
just
I was watching the Facebook
yes, all this
and
stuff on the Facebook, and
all the
people
people
are
like
like, I've been
freaking
sitting in the queue
for
for
8 hours. Yeah.
6 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
8 hours, 10 hours, and then or somebody would be like, oh, I had a friend who was ahead of me in the queue, and they finally got through, so they got me tickets. And I mean, it was just
Mm-hmm.
like madhouse. I feel like it was almost kind of like when Hamilton started touring, and everybody was trying to get tickets to Hamilton,
Right.
and it was insanity, especially when it came to Louisville. It was like
Mm-hmm.
insane. But I think what kills me too with Ticketmaster is it's like they're pre-sale tickets.
Yeah.
So it was like you had to log on, enter your email into some kind of lottery,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just, I guess it's random, I don't know the algorithm or whatever, would randomly select people that then send them emails to say, oh, you've been picked as a what is it they call them? A true Swifty or whatever
Yes.
fan. Anyway, you've been selected, so
Mm-hmm.
you are one of the few who can do the pre-sale. But then apparently they only gave out like 1.5 million of the pre-sale tickets, but then like 12.4 million people tried to log on and snag pre-sale tickets even though
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have a code. So then Ticketmaster broke.
Well, and apparently they sold out of tickets before they even released it for like the general public sale. which
Right.
is
And see, and I don't know if there was a limit
disgusting.
on
Well,
how many.
and and apparently, again, guys, I am pro Taylor Swift. I love all of her.
Yeah, I'm not
Fuck
judging her at
you.
all.
I've got this. And I am amazed at how people our age and like tweens are into the same thing. I'm like, weird.
Right.
It's cool that she's managed to keep that up. But like people are talking about how already on like StubHub tickets are going for like
Uh-huh.
8 times how much they were paid for, and I'm like, that is
Yep.
fucking ridiculous. Can you imagine paying like thousands of dollars to sit in shitty seats?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, and I know Taylor has no control over any of that because she is stuck in the same shitty system that everybody's stuck in called Ticketmaster. So,
Right.
yeah, Ticketmaster, stop
But
being
then you
so
have all
shitty.
those like like StubHub and those other ones where they go on and they snatch up all these tickets and
Mm-hmm.
then they resell them for
Right.
like, you know, ungodly amounts of money. And I think that those kind of sites to me are also super shitty
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, just quit being a dick. Just let people go and buy the tickets how much Taylor Swift needs to, because I know part of the reason the things are so expensive is because it's so expensive for the venue,
Right.
you know, like I get that.
And but my issue is there needs to be something in place because StubHub, by the way, is owned by Ticketmaster. Um,
Yes.
like you shouldn't be able to sell a ticket for more than you paid for it.
Oh, right,
That
right,
should
right,
just
right.
be, it should be I get to buy, 20 tickets and then I'm going to sell them for like 5 times because that's just shitty. It's like it
Yeah.
shouldn't be allowed. At
Just
least
because
at
people
least
out there
not
would
on
do
like
it.
those sites that are being
Right,
run by the fucking people who sold the tickets to begin with. I'm
right.
like, they fucking know how much the ticket actually cost.
I know. It's like, gosh.
So, nah, I hate it.
Yeah. It'd be
Fuck
nice if
Ticketmaster.
people could have, when I say people, entertainers,
Mm-hmm.
could have more control over their own
Mm-hmm.
ticket sales, you know, because they are. I mean, it's like that market's kind of, you have to use Ticketmaster, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's got
Pretty
Ticketmaster has a monopoly on that kind of thing.
much
And if
everything
you're going
has
to have that kind of
monopoly, and I'm sick of it.
monopoly, yeah, and if you're going to have that kind of monopoly Ticketmaster, then you better get your shit together
Right?
to be able to hold 24 or however it was 12.4 million people trying to get Taylor Swift tickets because you all should have fucking known better is all I have to
Mm-hmm.
say. And what is this pre-sale business anyway? It's like just release them and let people get on.
Yeah.
I know they were probably trying to control some of the traffic, but still it's like you all should have known that people would try to get on and get them even though they didn't have a certain code. So that's just, yeah, do better, Ticketmaster.
Yep. Yep.
Quit
Poor
being douche
planning.
canoes. Right,
Poor
100%.
planning.
Absolutely. So yeah, Ticketmaster's my judge for. But it
Yes.
was just funny. Like all these people are like, I'm trying to get tickets, and I've been on here for like 10 hours, and
Hours and
I'm just
hours.
like,
And I'm
oh
like,
my
I
gosh,
can't think of anything I like that much.
no. Which I get that a lot of it was just them probably like carrying their phone or their laptop around, like
Right.
waiting in the queue, but still the fact that you still have to pay attention to it for that long to make sure that you don't lose your spot.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
just
not,
insane.
I'm grateful that concerts are not a love language for me. I don't enjoy
Right.
concerts. They're very loud and they make my ears hurt.
I mean,
So I
I
don't
feel
go a
like
whole lot, but
I like concerts, but I feel like I really, really have to like whoever is
mm-hmm.
there. Like, there's one coming just like Pink. Pink's gonna be in Cincinnati,
Oh, cool.
but she's gonna be with Brandy Carlisle. I love Brandy Carlisle.
Well,
Love,
welcome
love,
to the
love.
1990s.
I know, right? It's like I love Brandy Carlisle, and they're not even in the same genre.
Mm-hmm.
She and Pink, and I'm just like, I
That
mean,
kind
and
of
I
makes it
like Pink
better.
enough. And there's some other people too. I think there were two other like opening acts, but the
Mm-hmm.
two main ones were like Pink and Brandy Carlisle. And I'm like, I kind of want to go see that. Just, I really, really love
Yeah.
Brandy Carlisle. And I am not opposed to Pink. My cousin has seen her like 2 or 3 times in concert
I'm sure she's
because
an
she had puts
excellent
on,
entertainer. Yeah.
yes.
She seems
And
like someone who would put on an excellent show.
Yeah, that she is one hell of an entertainer. So, I mean, because I do like pink stuff,
Mhm.
not as much as Brandy Carlisle, but again,
Well, because
like
to
I
me,
would really, really, really have to like that person to fork out that kind of money to go see them.
I think it really matters how good they are at putting on a show because,
Right.
like, comically, I've been to random concerts in my life, and they've been quite random, really. But the one that had the best, like, stage show was Paul McCartney.
Nice.
Like, hands down, knew none of the
Yeah.
songs because I'm like 18 and I'm with my
Oh,
dad.
right.
And I was, the last person that could possibly go. So it's fine. I
You're
enjoyed it.
like, I'm just here by default.
Well, and I don't hold grudges when being default child because that happens. I go to a football game because I'm default because no one else could go. It's not my
Right.
favorite thing. I want someone who likes it more than me to go. I knew no Paul McCartney
Right.
songs really, but Dad wanted to go and I could go, so I went. And it was really good. And I remember just being super astonished at how great a show he put on. And I enjoyed something knowing really hardly any of these songs. As my dad is singing at the top of
Yeah,
his lungs
right,
next to me,
right.
having the greatest time of his life, which is all that matters. But
Right.
hmm.
But yeah. So, yeah. That's my judge. Ticketmaster, get your shit together.
Excellent,
Quit being
excellent
quit
judge.
being dicks.
Get your shit
Don't be a
together.
dick. Yeah, don't be a dick. It's fine. Anyway, okay, so what are you judging?
So, you may have already heard this because obviously this is 2 weeks into the future by the time you hear this,
Right.
dear listener. But this week, Trump made his announcement that he is going to
Ugh.
again run for president, which, yes, that's how I feel too.
Ugh.
Which, whatever. But I'm not
No, I
going to
don't
just
want
judge
it to
that because
happen.
you already know how I feel. I think
Right,
he's a
right.
fucking idiot. So there's that. But what I want to judge is how the New York Post handled it. Now, what you don't know is that I've forgotten the person who owns the New York Post because meh. But
Meh.
so the New York Post actually is famously conservative. They tend to hold a
Yeah.
lot of
Mhm.
conservative views, and for I assume an excellent reason, maybe because they're not insane. The owner of the New York Post was like, "I'm not doing this Trump bullshit anymore. We're done.
Like I'm over it.
Like
Yeah.
we're not supporting him. We're none of the papers, none of the subsidiaries. We're done. No support. He's a fucking
Right.
idiot." And so when they were, obviously reporting the news that Trump had made this announcement on the front page of the New York Post, I sent Claire a picture. I will throw it up here for those of you watching. You'll see that it is a big, huge front page talking about children of war and all the gang shootings, and it's really sad. And then down at the very bottom, it says, Florida man makes announcement.
Oh, that's great. That's rich.
And I was like,
That is rich. I love
I
that.
love so much. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before to just refer
Florida
to
man.
Trump as Florida man.
Florida man.
Because in case somehow you don't know about Florida man trends,
Oh, and they buried it on page 26. I love
right?
it.
Yeah. It's
I
like,
love
whatever.
it.
So if you're not familiar with Florida man stories, typically they report Florida man and then has done something ridiculously stupid. It's a great
Right.
game. You just Google Florida man and your birthday, and then you're welcome with a lot of bizarre stories of stupid things people did on your birthday.
It's
So
true.
my birthday Florida man was a guy who was trying to run from Florida to, I think it was Cuba or the Bahamas. I don't remember now. Um,
Mhm.
in like one of those giant balls, like the inflatable balls that you could run down a hill in, you could get inside.
Oh, yeah.
And he was
Mhm.
gonna like get in it and run on the water all the way.
Oh,
And
people.
he had to get rescued several times by the Coast Guard because he kept trying to do it over and over. It was a hysterical story. But like Florida man makes an announcement that was mwah, perfection. And from now on, I'm going to refer to Trump as Florida man
Yes.
because that feels correct. So thank you, New York Post, for giving me a lovely lull this week.
Right,
It was
right,
like,
right,
lol.
right. You're like, that's fantastic. In the spirit of like the names,
Hmm.
um, there is a TikTok woman out there. Let me find her name 'cause I thought it was funny. Let me see. Because she'll when she talks about Trump, every time she talks about him, she calls him a different name,
Oh,
and
right.
it's hilarious. Like, it's just like, this is fantastic. It's like, go look her up because she's funny. Because let's see, what's her name? Something about Omaha. Watch my phone not be able to pull anything up because my Wi-Fi is crap.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, every time she talks about him, she calls him like McCheeto or, something like that. Like,
Hmm.
and she's got like a whole playlist, and I think it's called Trump Pansy Names. But anyway, she's hilarious. I like
uh,
listening to her stuff just to hear what crazy names she'll come up with. But I do
yeah.
enjoy Florida Man. Just
Well, I feel like
Florida Man.
because I know that for the next 2 years we're going to be inundated with Trump bullshit because,
Ugh,
ugh,
right.
gross. But I think I'm just going to play the game of every time I see a headline, I'm just going to throw Florida Man in there and be like, Florida Man rages on, or
Right, right.
Florida Man
Flor-
shakes fist.
Her Florida Man has meltdown. You
Hmm.
know, it's like this would be like Florida
Florida
Man
Man
versus
didn't get his way.
I know Florida Man versus Ron DeSantis. It's like what?
uh,
Oh, jeez.
actually, what you're looking for there, Claire, is Florida Man versus Florida Man.
I mean, true, true. It's true.
But anyway, the second thing I'm judging today
Oh, we got
is
two.
we
Okay.
got two. This one's also short. Is today we went to get our mail, and in our mailbox, I had my very first since we moved here jury summons.
Oh Lord.
And so, like,
Are
I
you just
immediately
like?
am like
Are you like? I'm
panicking
leaving.
because
I'm
I was
leaving.
like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. I've got
Right.
stuff. I'm busy. I have so many side gigs and projects at this point that I'm like,
Right.
I can't do this right now. And it's like telling me I have to report December 20th, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna be here. Like, it's a whole thing.
Right.
And so, like, I start spiraling because that's what I do when I'm overwhelmed. And so, as I'm waiting for my groceries to be put in the car, I'm actually reading the paper, and the paper says that I have to report December 20th to the tiny little building that I didn't know was a courthouse here in this tiny tiny town. Um, that I have to call or check online the night before to make sure that I still need to be there, but that it's
Hmm.
literally one day. My entire jury duty service is the one day. After that, I'm done. It says, after this date, you are
Oh.
no longer, and I'm like, and it's a 1 day trial. And I'm like, what?
Oh.
Like,
Wow. That's
jury duty
crazy.
for a a day? It's not like a month. It's not, I thought it was like orientation, and then I was gonna have to like serve for a
Right.
month. And I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Because I know
All right.
When Carrie had jury
I had,
duty,
yeah.
it was like 2 months,
And say, when
and Mom
I
had.
had jury duty in Kentucky, and like I had orientation, and then we were
Yep.
on for a month, and we had to call to make sure to find out if we were called. I never did get
Yeah.
called, but I had to
And
call in
then
every night.
Mom had federal jury duty, and
Mm-hmm.
it lasts 6 months,
It lasts for
which is
fucking
insane.
ever because my mom had that too.
Yeah. My mom was on some kind of case about a pill mill
Mm-hmm.
and putting these like doctors away who'd been
Yeah, I'm like,
over over prescribing or falsely prescribing medications to people who just want pain pills, that kind of junk.
I have absolutely no idea what kind of trial or court cases they even hear here because
Oh right, yeah.
it's time. I mean, it's the county, which is big, but it's filled with tiny towns, and it's a one
Right.
day jury duty. And it came with this whole page of like all the things that they have done to try and make the courthouse area or the courtroom area of the Pioneer Building or whatever it is more COVID safe or whatever. It's like all the jury seats are 6 feet apart from each other. I'm like,
Oh
that's
boy.
weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Sitting in a seat and like people are far away.
Far,
And
far away.
everyone
Yeah.
is masked and they have hand sanitizer everywhere. And I'm like, okay. At this point, no one wears masks anymore. They've just given up.
Right.
I do, but I also have been sick for like a week, so it hasn't really helped me very much.
Right.
But anyway, so those are my judges. Florida man makes announcement and 1 day jury duty.
Nice.
Are they going to orientate
You're,
us like before? Like,
I know. You're like, what?
so weird. I never had anything like this before.
That is weird.
So
Nice.
I will be jurying probably on December 20th. I get paid $10 for a half day and $25 for a full day. Plus
That's
mileage. I wonder how much 1 mile of me walking there, because it's literally like half a
right.
mile away or something.
That's better than here. Apparently, it's only $12 a day here.
Yeah, that's all I got in Kentucky. Yeah, when I did it, because it was $12.50, I think, or something
Yeah, something
stupid.
like
But
that.
I was
Like,
like, all right,
dude, that doesn't even pay for my lunch.
no, not really. So I was like, all right, whatever. I don't care. If it's 1 day jury duty, I'll do
I
it.
mean, that's
It's
yeah,
fine.
that's whatever.
That's fine. It's probably not going to be anything exciting. It's probably going to. I told Spencer it's probably going to be our dueling landlords, and I'm going to have to be like, I think I'm a witness and not
Wait,
a juror.
right? You're like, I can't do
I
this.
don't.
I know too much.
I can't do this because I know too much, and I've seen it
right.
with my own eyes, and it's bananas. But there you go.
Nice.
Those are my judges for this week.
That's excellent. I dig it.
All right, so on to elephants and how we're going to make them fit into our true crime, paranormal, and other weird shit.
Oh, jeez.
And I believe this week Claire is going first.
I am.
What have you brought us, Claire?
I'm going to be talking about the Elephant Man,
Yay!
Joseph Merrick. And I got my sources from Britannica, Wikipedia, biography, and all that's interesting. Yes, yes, yes. Anywho, so Joseph Carey Merrick was born in Leicester, England, August. Dang it.
Close enough.
August 5th. I know. August 5th, 1862. His parents were Joseph Rockley Merrick and Mary Jane Potterton. Because, we got to keep up with the whole, like, let's name our kids after us.
Of course. I feel
Yeah,
like that's the only reason to have children is to literally just name them your name.
right. Yeah. Like, don't let them have their own identity. Forget that.
Nope. You are my clone. You must be like
Right.
me.
And so Joseph Merrick had a fairly normal childhood until he was around 5 years old. And that's when he began to develop all the stuff that plagued him the rest of his life. And it was started with just abnormal growths of skin and bone,
Ugh.
like on his head and back and
Ugh.
sides. It was weird because it was not like uniform over his entire body. He did have a brother and a sister, and they too, both of them, suffered untimely deaths. William Arthur was born in 1866, and he succumbed to scarlet fever at 4 years old.
Hmm.
And his sister Marion Eliza was born in 1867, and she just said she had physical disabilities. It didn't elaborate, but she passed from myelitis, which is an inflammation of the spinal cord that disrupts communication from the brain to the rest of the body,
Ew.
and seizures. And it had seizures in quotation marks, so I don't know if it was like not seizures.
Seizures.
I know seizures.
Like, what is that code for?
Don't know. But she was 23 when she passed.
Hmm.
So all of the children that these two people procreated had issues.
Man,
So there
genetics
must
are a
have,
bitch, man.
I know, right? Like something was really, but it didn't talk about like his parents having any kind of issues genetically,
Yeah, it's just
which is,
it's gonna
yeah,
be that weird. They both carry recessive genes, but they passed them all on, and
right,
it's like, how do you
right.
fuck? How do you get
Which is
that?
insane. Yeah, that you have three children who all three die early on,
Mm-hmm.
so. But around 5 years old, he started growing thick, lumpy skin, similar to an elephant's in texture and color. It was kind of gray. And
Okay.
as he grew, he began to show a sizable difference between his left and his right arms. Like his left looked like a normal arm, but then his right was all big and chunky.
Hmm.
And it said his wrist was 12 inches circumference,
Oh.
like around, yeah. And that he
Whoa.
kind of had a fin or a claw for a hand. Like it was almost like things kind of fused together. And yeah, like
That's
he didn't have,
weird. Because
yeah,
he started off normal with like fingers,
yes,
and then they
yes.
fused. Okay.
I guess. I mean, it just hit when you
That's
see pictures of his hand, it kind of looks like this. Like it's weird.
huh.
Or it's like the skin, the way the skin grew. Like it probably just kind of grew like in between here. I don't know. It didn't like get that
I
specific
mean,
to what happened, but
yes.
yeah. And his legs were deformed similarly to his arms, and his feet were very enlarged. And also, he had a defect in his hip, which affected his mobility. Part of that was from this disorder, but then another part was that he injured his hip when he was young. The injury became infected and started contributing to him being permanently disabled as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like the skin thing and the like that whole thing, like his bones were being affected, and then he broke his hip and it got infected. Yeah, like it was like, gosh almighty. Uh, but anyway,
And I'm
because of his
complaining about not being able to hear out of one ear today, and I'm
right,
like, okay, I'll
but
stop
then because
complaining.
his legs were the way they were and the hip, like he could not walk without some
Mm-hmm.
form of assistance, like a cane. Um, his head increased to 3 feet in circumference. Yeah, and
Wow.
it
Okay.
was, yeah, it was so big that it like the skin and stuff was growing. His bone was kind of mutating, and it got to where it was like kind of back here and it wrapped around his face, and he couldn't talk. It became to where he could not communicate because his lips were like almost gone.
Wow. Oh
It's
God.
just, yeah,
I
he
had
couldn't, he really struggled. Like there were only certain people who could understand him when he tried to talk, which is, I can't imagine
no.
having that kind of deformity. But they said it was unclear exactly what caused it. Could have been neurofibromatosis,
Okay.
but then they said part of the deformity was because of the Proteus syndrome. So I'm just like, they still don't know. That was one of the things they said they've studied his bones and his DNA, and they still really
They
don't know
still don't know what. Like I was about to
what
say. So
really
is this
caused
like
it.
a
Yeah,
thing that still happens today? Do people still get? I'm not sure that elephantitis is the right word, but I'm not sure what other word to use
right,
for it.
right. And it says that Merrick, he was extremely close to his mother, which I'm sure you would be if you start growing deformities and people start treating you like trash.
Mm-hmm.
But she died from pneumonia when he was 11.
Aw.
And so like 18 months after that, his mother passed. His dad remarried their landlady,
Ew.
who basically became Merrick's evil stepmother.
Ah.
So she was obviously, she's kind of repulsed by his appearance. And then soon after she comes into the family, like his dad stopped showing him any affection. And so he's just kind of alone.
Aw.
So he's depressed. He stops going to school. He tried running away. His dad would always just go get him and bring him back, which I'm just like, let the kid go. Y'all are being dicks. Nobody wants
Right?
to live this way. Right. And so his stepmother insisted that if he wasn't in school, he needed to go get a job. So at 13, he wound up going to a cigar rolling shop. But because of his hand becoming more and more deformed,
Mm-hmm.
it became hard for him to do his job. It was just, and it really limited his dexterity
Mm-hmm.
in his right hand. And so after 3 years of being at the cigar shop, he started wandering the streets looking for any kind of work he could find that he could physically perform. And at the end of the day, when he would come home, his stepmother would tell him that, what little food she did serve him was worth more than anything that he could ever bring home. So she
Wow.
was, yeah,
God.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
awful. I hate these
I
awful
know.
people. It's like
I
his life is
know.
already awful. You don't have to add more to it.
Right. Right. Like, why? And I'm not saying like cut his legs out from under him, but it's like, good God, show him some kind of support. Jeez. It's not his fault this is happening.
Yeah, it's like,
This is not self inflicted. It's he can't
although,
control it.
maybe that you said this was 18 something something. Are they still in the God is punishing you for sin or something bullshit?
Possibly, but
Because
that really
they
didn't see
didn't.
that come up a whole lot. But I mean, that's
I
very
mean, I
much,
just wondered if that's like her perspective of, well, God's
I
punishing
mean,
you for
right,
your sin.
right. And so Merrick's father owned a, I love this word, haberdashery.
I love it. I love a good
And so
haberdashery.
he helped, his dad helped him, Merrick, get a peddler's license or a hawking license as they called it. So he could go out and try to sell stuff from his father's shop.
Hmm.
So he became kind of like a door-to-door salesman, but because of his appearance and his
Mm-hmm.
speech impediment due to everything that was
I'm
going
gonna
on,
guess he wasn't super successful.
no, mm-mm. Either people would not open the door at all because they were too afraid of him, or if they did open the door, then he would struggle to sell things because it was super hard for him to talk. So, yeah, his speech was so impaired that nobody could understand him. So, out of frustration one day, his father beats him because he's not selling things like he should. And I'm just like, this is why certain people don't need to have children.
Exactly.
Yeah. So after his father beats him because he wasn't selling things, he left home for good. He was just like, "Deuces, I'm gone."
Right?
And
Like,
so
yeah.
yeah, so he went and he stayed with his uncle for a little while, but he wound up losing his peddling license, so he couldn't bring in any money. And after about 2 years, his uncle just couldn't afford to support him anymore. So by this time, he's 17 years old. He joins the Leicester Union Workhouse and he stayed there for 4 years and absolutely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just like it was killing his soul kind of thing. It was just, yeah, didn't, no bueno. I imagine that's kind of like working in some kind of terrible factory.
Yeah,
Just like
I
not
only have
worth
like
it.
the Charles Dickens concept of workhouses, and they're
Right.
not
And
good.
that's kind of how in my mind,
Mhm.
I imagine this one. I mean, absolutely. So in 1884, Merrick reached out to a local proprietor named Sam Torr, and Torr agreed to have Merrick be a part of a traveling act, like freak show type thing. And Merrick would be billed as half man, half elephant,
Mhm.
and which eventually would change to the Elephant Man. So he basically was part of a traveling freak show and felt like that was really the only way that he could make any kind of living.
Mhm.
Just have people come and pay money to stare at him. Be weird because that's what life dealt him. And big success in Leicester and Nottingham. And then the show went to London and stayed there for a while. And it was actually across the street from the London hospital. And medical students would go across to the freak show to take a look at Merrick to kind
Huh.
of study him
Yeah.
and see, look at his condition and see what all his ailments were. And it said that Merrick, at this time when he lived there, he would wear a cape and veil to conceal his appearance when he would go out in public, but was often harassed by mobs while traveling.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh, we're going to pay money to gawk at you and then we're going to treat you like shit.
Well, yes. So people got it. Mhm.
Yeah.
People being
Humanity.
people.
Humanity being terrible. Yep.
Yep.
And it says Merrick was eventually invited to the London hospital by a surgeon named Frederick Treves. And he looked Merrick over and he determined that all of his deformities were really severe. So, along with an enlarged head and hand and feet, he also suffered from tumors all over his body.
Hmm.
So it's just, but otherwise it said his health was pretty good. So it's like, I,
To me,
I
that's
mean,
like saying, to otherwise, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the show? It's the same thing. Like, otherwise, everything was
right.
fine, right?
I mean, I guess because, your heart's beating strong, you can breathe. I don't, I mean,
You can't
I, I,
talk, you
I
can't
don't know what,
walk.
yeah, yeah. But otherwise, you're in good health. I
Everything's
mean,
fine.
yeah. But Treves asked Merrick to stay at the hospital for further examination, but Merrick was like, no, no, gonna go back out because he said
Mhm.
he felt like an animal at a cattle market being at the hospital. I guess people coming in and poking, prodding, and all that. In 1885, the freak show was on the decline as far as popularity in Britain, and so it was starting to be seen as distasteful. So, so
Uh-huh.
Merrick's managers moved the Elephant Man exhibit to Belgium. And there it only had like mediocre success, I guess,
Hmm.
because it was just freak show in general was kind of on the downturn of
Surely they
popularity.
immediately thought, hey, let's go to America because, they'll love that.
Right, right. But no, instead Merrick's managers robbed him of his life savings
Oh,
and
God.
abandoned him in Belgium. I know.
Everybody's awful.
I know. It's terrible. This is a terrible story. In 1886, Merrick was able to somehow find passage back to London on a ship, but he was mobbed by a crowd in Liverpool can't talk Liverpool Street Station.
Hmm.
The police took him into custody, and because of his disorder, the police couldn't understand anything that he was saying when he spoke to them. And
Right.
so they wound up finding a business card from Frederick Treves in his pocket. And so they took him to the London hospital to see Frederick Treves just because they found this business card on him.
Right.
And Treves was shocked to see how much Merrick's condition had worsened in the 2 years that he had seen him. And it said that the hospital was not capable of caring for an incurable like Merrick. So he was going to be left to fend for himself once again,
Uh,
which is also really shitty.
we can't help
But
you, so bye.
I know, right? Like, oh, we can't cure you, so just go die.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is happening here? But the hospital chairman, his name was Carr Grom. He published a letter. First he tried to find other hospitals that could take in Merrick, and he
Mm-hmm.
was unsuccessful with that. So he published a letter in the Times asking for help, and people began to send in donations. So this
Oh.
was like old school GoFundMe.
Yeah, right.
I mean, 100%. And actually, people sent in enough donations to provide Merrick care for the rest of his life.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So with these donations in 1887, they took several hospital rooms and converted them into living quarters so Merrick could just stay at the hospital. And, I guess with all this newly gained positive kind of notoriety, like we're trying to help this person,
Mm-hmm.
that he wound up getting a lot of support from like the British upper class, including an actress named Madge Kendall and Alexandra, Princess of Wales.
Oh, well, there you go.
And so he wound up, because he had this support now, he was able to like visit the theater and they took him on trips to the countryside and he could write, he would like write his stories or poetry, that kind of thing. And he spent most of his time, in his little apartments
Mm-hmm.
talking with Treves because Treves was one of the only people who could
Understand
really
him, yeah.
understand him. Like he had been around him enough that he knew what he was saying. But despite this newfound support system, Merrick's condition continued to worsen. And on April 11th, 1890, he was found deceased in his bed, lying on his back. And it said that he would usually sleep sitting up due to his head size
Mm-hmm.
because he would either they were afraid his like neck would break or he'd suffocate. That he would like, and it says sleep with his head resting on his knees, and to me that sounds like a terrible sleeping position.
Yeah.
But originally they thought he had died from asphyxiation because of the heaviness of his head was like crushing his windpipe. But it says over a century later, it was concluded that his spinal cord had been crushed due to the weight of his head, like when his head fell backwards, like
Ah,
it
wow.
like snapped
Wow.
his neck, and that he passed at 27 years old.
Wow.
And I think people they still study his bones
Well, of
and
course. I mean,
trying to find,
I
but they don't really know what caused it.
that's what's so bizarre to me. I thought they knew. I thought it was one of those things like, yeah, it was just a really severe case of blah 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 blah, and
Oh, there was, I mean, like I said, there was really nothing that was
yeah.
like, oh, this is what it was. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, it almost sounded like it
Weird.
was like maybe two different things combined. I don't know.
Wow. That's
But
so
it was just
sad.
things just, yeah, and it
But
just
I'm
seemed like
glad
things
that
just
like
kept growing.
I'm glad that I guess the last bit of his life was better. Like he got to enjoy things and
Right.
see things and have a space that was his, and he had a friend who had come talk to him, so
Right.
that's
Hmm.
nice. I mean, shitty that all the other stuff happened. Super fucking shitty, but
Right. And
wow.
I don't think it kills me that when you have a child like that a parent would, like his own dad
Mhm.
was just like, no, we're not. I'm just gonna do what your stepmother tells me to do. And
Gross.
right, like it's just, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, no, not cool, not cool.
No, not at all. God, I hate that. I hate that a lot.
But anyway, that is the story of Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man. Somehow in there, somebody miswrote his name, so there are a lot of people who think his name is John Merrick, but that's not the case. It's a
Oh,
Joseph.
interesting.
Joseph Merrick. So if you hear somebody say John Merrick, because even in that stupid Bare Naked Lady song, if I had $1 million,
Mhm.
it said I'd, and it says I'd buy John Merrick's remains. Oh, those crazy elephant bones, and it's like it's not John Merrick, it's
Ah,
Joseph Merrick.
interesting. Did not know
But
that either.
anywho, yes. So some people do call him, refer to him as John Merrick, but that's wrong.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. Anyway, that's the story of the Elephant Man.
Excellent. Sad, very sad, but
It
excellent.
is. I know. I was looking at this and like, gosh, this is so depressing. But like you said, I mean, it did. Like he was eventually able to have some friends who helped him, and
Yeah,
one of the first
yeah.
GoFundMe's, I guess. I don't know.
OG GoFundMe.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
From freak show to celebrity. Nice.
Also shows that the health system is still shitty back in the day.
It's like, oh, the health system
we
still sucks even now? Huh.
I know. It's just like, come on, people. Have we learned
Yeah.
nothing?
Nope.
Apparently not.
Never will.
So yeah.
All right. So,
So I'm excited to hear your elephant true crime stories.
all right. So,
That's
yes.
exciting to me.
So, I have brought to you three true crime stories that are connected to elephants.
Sweet.
Some of them
Do
are
it.
very obviously connected to elephants, and some are
Not so much.
not as much. But that's okay. That's okay. Elephant
It's
is the
fine.
theme. I'm here for the theme. So,
That's right.
I got my information from some interesting places. So bear
Uh-huh.
with me.
Hmm.
True Crime Daniel on YouTube.
Okay.
Uh, blackkalendar.nl. No idea.
Okay.
Everyday Muslim on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Wikipedia, of course.
Oh, always.
And DannyDutch.com. Yeah, these
DannyDutch.com.
are some oddball ones, but you
Gotcha.
know, you get your information where you can find it. So
You're like, I'm just doing my best here.
yes. So this first one, I call Elephants Do Remember.
Okay.
Okay, so this happened in India. a woman's funeral was interrupted by an elephant stampeding into the service. And I watched the video. It did. It stampeded right in, and it went and it knocked over
Oh,
her like coffin and like crushed it.
oh,
Like,
crap. Yeah.
no, what's interesting is that this woman, her name was Maya.
Uh-huh.
She had been attacked a few days prior to her funeral by the same elephant.
What?
So she had been at a well, and a lot of other people were at the well as well.
Like, well.
When an elephant came just running through, stampeding, and chased after her, only her, chasing her down and trampling her.
What? Is that how she died?
And so she didn't immediately die. They took her to the hospital, but she did later succumb to her injuries. So the elephant caused her death.
Okay.
Locals there believe that she had done something to this elephant.
Like previously, and it
Offended the
was
elephant in some way, or maybe threatened the elephant's calf. They are uncertain. All they know is that this elephant came out of nowhere, went at her and only her, trampled her, and then after she had died, they were having the funeral, and the elephant fucking came back, breaking into the funeral and like knocks down like her little coffin thing and tramples it again.
this elephant was like, die!
Um, this is so when it broke into the funeral, before it went in and trampled it, 'cause apparently her funeral was on her property. Is what I gathered.
Okay.
Apparently the elephant had come in, stampeding through her farm, killing her goats and destroying her property before it went in to desecrate her corpse.
Wow. So
So
this elephant was like
it
had
was
some
like,
serious
die, bitch,
revenge.
die for whatever the
So,
fuck she did. And I'm just
I
like,
know. So it
holy
doesn't
fuck.
know if they don't know if she did something
They
to this
don't
specific
they don't know
elephant.
what she did, but this elephant had it out for her.
Wow. That's crazy.
So moral of the story is don't fuck with elephants, man. They're not gonna forget. So like,
That's
damn.
insane.
I know.
Like sought her out. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
It is bananas.
It
Like
is,
I wouldn't
definitely.
believe it except that like I watched multiple videos and was like, this really fucking happened. Or at least that's according to the locals. This is what happened. That it was the same elephant and it was out for vengeance.
Apparently.
So, I guess in that one the elephant did it. It's the
It
elephant's
was
the
yeah.
murderer.
Yeah.
All right. My second story I like to call Elephants Are Worth Killing For.
Ah, okay.
So, 1927 England.
Oh, we're taking it back. Okay.
Sondway arrived in England from Burma to look after a white elephant for the Zoological Society of London.
Nice.
Unfortunately, about a year later, the elephant ended up going back to Burma because it didn't like the cold weather of England, which,
Mhm.
I mean,
I mean, fair.
it's fair. I don't.
It's fair.
But Sondway stayed on at London to look after two of the other elephants that they had. But then Sayid Ali came along. Now, Sayed was another elephant trainer, and he became the caretaker of the two elephants, taking over San's position
Mhm.
and taking his pay and the perks that San once had. And San himself got demoted to doing just like menial day labor kinds of things.
Oh.
So San and Syed lived together
Oh,
in
wow.
a room at the zoo that was above the taper house or tapir or whatever those things are called. They're tapers, right? Tapir?
Papers.
Tapers. That's what. Okay.
Brandon does this thing, and I don't know why. I don't know where this came from, but like he makes fun of things. All like he's I don't know some kind of like Futurama something, but he'll be like, "Oh my god, babe, look at the tapers!" Like it's just I don't know. It's this thing that happened. He said it once, and now we say it to each other all the time, and I don't know why.
Well, there you go. I'm
It's
glad
just
I
one
could
of
bring
those
that
like
back to you.
no, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, why is this an inside joke? I don't even know where this came from. But that's why it's like it's tapers.
It's tapers.
Like,
But
oh my god.
apparently, there's a room above the taper house, and they both lived there.
Gotcha.
Even though Sayed had basically taken over San's job. So Sayed was a favorite at the zoo,
Oh,
and
okay.
everyone loved him, and he was often described as the finest elephant trainer in the world.
So somebody's a little salty, I
You know.
gather.
So we're going to move to August 24th, 1928, when police were called to the zoo and found Sandway in hysterics. He was outside, he was crying, he was super upset, and he was
Yeah.
saying that, something had happened, and so they go to their room and they find Syed is there and he's dead.
Oh wow.
So San claims that 4 men broke into their home and killed Syed with a sledgehammer and a pickaxe. And he kept repeating, 4 men tried to kill me. He claimed that he awoke to the sound of Syed being beaten, and he jumped out of bed, rolling beneath it, like trying to
Hide,
keep
yeah.
away or whatever. And the men kept saying to San, "You all right, you stay there." And
Okay.
he did not know who these men were. However, evidence seemed to stack up against Sandway.
Uh-huh.
The mystery men were never found, and even more damningly, the sledgehammer marks on the door, so as the door had been broken down,
Yeah.
the sledgehammer marks on the door had traces of blood in them, which would suggest that
Oh.
the door was broken down after the murder had been committed and not before.
Uh-huh.
So prosecution claimed that San had killed Syed, had locked the door, then broken down the door to throw off suspicion, and that he jumped out of a window with a key still in his pocket, like the key to the door.
Oh, and then
And yeah,
he busted back in.
and he was like, "See it, it's a blah blah blah."
Uh-huh.
He later ended up confessing to the killing. He did do it.
Mm.
So shocking, not shocking. San was found guilty after about 15 minutes of
I
deliberation.
mean, yeah.
And he was actually sentenced to death because it is 1928
Right.
England. Um, but for some reason, people decided to get really invested in the story. And so petitions were drawn up by groups of people that were trying to save San's life. And the narrative they
Okay.
created was that Syed, being a Muslim, was, this bad, horrible person, whereas Sandway was this pious Christian in order to like gain sympathy for him. Because, 1928.
Ew. Ew.
And also, Syed turned out wasn't the greatest guy. There were a lot of accusations that he was very violent in nature.
Uh-huh.
There are a lot of stories of adulterous relationships that he had with English women, and so it helped paint him as being this bad person.
Right.
And so they were successful in saving Dway's life, and he received a reprieve and
Wow.
was not executed. So he was in jail for a few years, but in 1932, which is only 4 years later, by the way,
Right.
he's released from jail and is sent back to Burma.
Wow. So he got off super easy. Oh my
Right? I was
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
how do you get released after 4 years?
When you killed somebody,
Yes.
people
You-
go away
and then
longer for like hurting animals.
and
It's
then
like,
like made evidence to look like someone else did it. It's not like you took,
right.
like you confessed and were like, I did this, I'm so sorry, I blah blah
Right.
blah. Good lord. Okay.
That's crazy.
I know. And it's because he loved elephants so much and wanted to be the main elephant guy. Of course.
That's nuts.
All right. So my last story
Yes.
This is my best one.
Yes.
I call it an elephant in the room
Okay.
or the store. Dot, dot, dot.
Or the store. Okay.
Hmm? So I'm going to tell you about the 40 Elephants Gang.
40 Elephants Gang. Okay.
Yes, you've never heard of the 40 Elephants Gang. Neither
I have
have I.
not. I have
And
not.
I am super sad that this is the first time I have ever heard of the 40 Elephants Gang. Do you know why, Claire?
Why is that?
Because it was an all-female London gang. The whole
What?
syndicate is a whole crime syndicate that specialized in shoplifting,
Yes.
primarily in like primarily from 1873 to the 1950s.
Oh, wow.
So they were most notable for their longevity,
Obvious.
for that
Yeah.
long, and their skill at avoiding police detection.
That's
They're super cool.
that's cool. Yeah.
So they operated primarily in the Southwark area of London, which is also known as Elephant and Castle. I guess hence the name
Okay.
40 Elephants Gang.
Gotcha.
And they would raid quality stores in the West End of London, like the high, nice stores.
Uh-huh.
One of their more famous leaders, her name was Diamond Annie.
Nice.
She was named for her penchant of wearing the nice sparkly rings, nice diamond rings, which helped pack an extra wallop when she would like punch people or
Punch
whatever.
somebody. Yep.
So, what did the 40 Elephants Gang do, Claire? Well, let me tell you. So, sometimes when they weren't shoplifting, they would masquerade as housemaids for wealthy families. They would
Nice.
use false references in order to gain, like
Access.
employment or whatever, and then they would
Uh-huh.
ransack their homes and steal things from them.
Wow.
They were such a big and well-known, powerful gang of women, all women. That's the thing that I really want to just like hammer home to you.
Right.
Only women are in this gang. They were so powerful that they would force smaller gangs to pay tribute to them and
Yes.
would punish other criminals if they didn't obey their rules because they had rules. And I
Kids
was
have
like,
to have
yeah.
standards.
So they shoplifted a lot. That was one of their primary
Yeah.
passions, we'll go with. And so they would have, I sent you some pictures. Um,
Yes.
they would use altered clothing that would have hidden pockets and would
Nice.
hide loot in their muffs or skirts or bloomers or hats
Uh-huh.
because since we're in Victorian England, at least in the beginning of this, and even the early 1900s, everyone is so weirdly prudish about women. Like you can't like pat them down or search their person
Right.
or any of that stuff. So they were really able to get away from like notice. And my favorite one is so they would like have a jacket, a coat or whatever, and in one of the
Mhm.
sleeves was an artificial arm. So that way
Okay.
their real arm could be like inside the jacket so they could steal that way and anyone that's looking just sees like their
Just
regular
see like
sees
it
like the
has an
fake arm or
oh,
whatever and this
okay.
that fake arm isn't taking anything but my secret arm is.
I know, right?
And I'm like,
Sneaky, sneaky.
damn. So they would steal so much. Like they had thousands of pounds worth of goods.
Oh, wow.
And they would earn so much by doing this that they supported their husbands. Their husbands would stay at home,
Wow. That's impressive.
right?
That is impressive, not gonna lie.
Now, obviously, you can't keep a gang like this super quiet forever. So, as people became more aware of this crime syndicate and their shoplifting tendencies, they started to leave the main streets of London and would go to, smaller towns outside or to like the seaside towns where they didn't know them and
Oh, okay,
they
gotcha.
were unfamiliar with this particular form of crime.
Gotcha.
Um, and they they were very forward thinking. So, as they entered into the 20th century, they realized the usefulness of cars. So, as cars were
Okay.
becoming more common, they invested in fast cars
Okay,
so
gotcha.
that as their crime syndicates grew or they were, leaving the smaller towns, seaside towns, or whatever, they could outrun the police if there's a police chase because they had the better car.
Nice.
The other really cool thing that I loved about them is so they often would have people take trains outside of London to these smaller towns, and they would take empty suitcases.
Ah,
So
yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
so they would have someone like shoplift and steal the loot. They'd pass it on to one of those people who would put it in their suitcase. The people in the suitcase would go back to the train, take the train back to London, and the cops are currently chasing the other person who's in the fast car. So even if they catch up to the fast car, there's
They're not gonna get
nothing.
it.
There's no stolen goods. They can't take them to jail because they have no proof of anything.
Right.
So I'm like, clever fucking women, man. I love it.
I know. This is yes.
I
To
was like,
get you people.
this is great to me. I'm like,
I
yes.
know. Like,
Um,
forget you guys. We'll just do it ourselves.
like, fuck you, man. We got this shit.
Right.
Sometimes when they would be these fake housemaids, they would not only, steal things, they would seduce the husband of the house and then blackmail him.
Oh, yes.
By the 1920s, they began to imitate the bright young things and would have these very extravagant lifestyles because they had a lot of money coming
Yeah.
in. And they would
Right.
throw lavish parties and would like kind of try and pretend to be celebrities. And no one, cops very rarely were able to catch the women. Um,
Right.
and even if they did, like one thing of shoplifting, like it might be 18 months or something in
Yeah,
prison.
it
And
wasn't like they
then,
had to spend terribly long
and
in jail for it.
then they would get out and they would just come right back
Right.
to the 40 elephants because that, these are women who otherwise probably would have lived in great poverty and probably would have been like
Right.
prostitute, sex workers, but like not because they want to be, but because they didn't have any other choice.
Right.
And so they created this amazing crime syndicate to flourish in a world
To
that
like
was
support
hell bent on keeping them
themselves.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. To support themselves and their families. It's like they could go have families.
Yes.
It's like, oh look.
And they were just so fucking clever. So they would steal a lot of clothing, but they would never wear the items that they stole. They would sell them to other clothing stores. And these other clothing stores would
Ah,
buy them
okay.
knowing that they're stolen property, which is
I mean,
interesting. And so the clothing stores would just replace the labels and then maybe slightly modify the designs so that they could claim them as their own
okay.
and then sell those. And I'm like, LOL.
Buy it for a discount and then you're gonna resell it. Fucking Ticketmaster.
Yes. Yes.
StubHub. That's what this is. Where that shit starts.
But eventually the 40 Elephants gang did cease. Poor Diamond Annie, she was eventually undone by her own rules. So she would
Ah.
have, because she made rules for everyone. One of the rules being that she had to approve of the husband that, one of her gang members took. She had to
Oh
okay
wow.
the marriage, essentially.
Yeah.
And for one of the girls, she had said no to someone, and that person was mad about it and was like, all right then. And so she went to the police and helped like rat him out.
Oh.
So the 40 Elephants gang ceased in the 1950s, but don't worry because Diamond Annie, after serving her time in prison, got out and she started a brothel and became a madam. So turned out just fine.
Very. She's
But
got like that
that,
very of that ingenuity. Like we're just gonna.
right? She was like, I got shit. I can do this. But like that's the the 40 Elephants, this all-female crime syndicate that, you know, took from the rich, essentially. I mean, they went to these
Right.
well-to-do stores and just took advantage of the situation in order to rise themselves out of poverty. I mean, like, they lived really well-off lives as a result.
Right.
So I'm like, damn, good job,
That
women.
is that is badass, I'm not gonna lie. That is very badass. Kudos to them for working the system in their favor, you know?
Well, and like not letting men take over or do anything. Like, I mean, they worked with
Right.
like other gangs
Right.
to do things, and like there were men around, but like they were not part of their gang.
Part of
Women
that gang,
only,
yes.
douchebags.
I know. Those those were 3 very excellent stories.
Thank you. Thank you. I did not. I almost went down another hole and did the toy box killer because apparently it happened in a town called
Ah,
Elephant Butte, or
okay.
he was from
Gotcha.
Elephant Butte or something like that. And I was
Something
like,
like that?
it's a little dark for my flavor this time. I'm going to stick to these kind of lighthearted older stories, you know.
Right, 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 right. No,
But
that was excellent.
also, I was just like, I've never heard of the 40 Elephants
I have not
Gang.
either.
Um, I mean, I'm not supposed to, I guess, fall in love with criminals, but
Right.
I mean, I'm over here going, damn right, you show them. Women can do it better. They can do
That's
it
right.
better.
It's like, look how long they were around. I mean,
Right? It's amazing. But there you have it. Those are my elephant stories.
excellent.
Which means it must be time for
Yes.
tarot time with April. Spooky, spooky.
It-
Just tell me when to stop. I'm going to do my best to not throw the cards around as hard as I did last time. They were all a giant mess, and it was scary. Oh my goodness.
Stop.
Okay. All right. Continuing with our 3 pile trend.
Yes.
I like it because I kind of let the cards decide where to separate on the deck. Like I just kind of pick up and then whatever happens, happens. All right. So this week we have the 3 of Swords. Yay.
Oh, wasn't that the bad one?
Swords are always bad, it seems like. All right. And then we have the Ace of Wands.
Ace of Wands. Okay.
And then we have the Pope, which is the
The oh,
Emperor. No, the
I,
Hierophant. Yes.
yeah, that's
The
yours.
Pope is the
Yeah,
Hierophant. This is my card. We've had him before.
we have.
We have, okay. So first is the 3 of Swords, which is probably bad. I'm just letting you know.
I know, right? I'm like, isn't that the really bad one?
So my first instinct when I see this card is to say, I'm sorry. You can't
Nice.
really soften this card. Something broke. Someone died. Someone was betrayed. There was loss, pain, tragedy, and heartache. This is a visceral card. The person who receives it will often know exactly what it's referring to before you start speaking, because the event cast a shadow over their life. Yes, this was the bad card. The
Yep. That's why I was like, this is the bad card.
Every time I see it in a reading, some kind of universal whammy is aiming at the client. Sometimes they're lucky, sometimes they have an elderly or ill relative who's ready to go. Sometimes, though, they don't know whom this card refers. It's not always death, it's divorce, cheating, devastation, car accidents, calamities. The best thing to do when you see this in a reading is to tell your clients to take a deep breath and brace themselves for uncontrollable change. So,
I feel like that's kind of apt. I'm just saying.
well, it's very doom and gloom. But when I pulled that for myself the last time I pulled it, that was also the day that the student loan
Oh yeah, they
thing
announced the student
announced. I
loan.
mean, as you can tell, that was a calamity and it's never going to happen. And I'm mad and angry at the world and hope everything blows up. But It wasn't a bad day that day. It scared me, but it's fine.
Right.
Ugh. Okay. So we're gonna start our week off with Calamity. Yay!
Sounds about par for the course.
All right. And then we are going to move to the Ace of Wands. In magic, wands are used to help you focus your power and take action. Let's see. The wand is given to you, which could be interpreted as the universe handing you some good luck or good karma. That's nice. After the calamities, we need some good luck
Right.
and
So,
karma.
okay. All right. Noted. That's good. That's not all bad.
The Ace of Wands is succeeding beyond your dreams. Sometimes
What?
even against reason. Things line up in such a way that luck, coincidence, hard work, and planning make everything turn out right. Huh.
So we go from a really bad card to a really good card.
I
Okay,
know.
gotcha.
That's very perplexing. Not sure how to feel about that. But then we have the Hierophant / the Pope. And this one, let's see. I remember this one is really more about how the Hierophant is similar to like the trickster gods, like
Yes.
Coyote and Loki and Jesus, by the way. He's a trickster god. The trickster is a messenger between the gods and man, stealing fire, teaching us forbidden secrets, giving us an apple. The Hierophant is the go-between for the gods and man, just as Coyote stole fire. In order to make the unattainable ours, risks are taken. I kind of see it as hard work. You've got to work to get the knowledge. Which I guess kind of goes with that we're super fucking lucky and we're gonna get all the good stuff after having some calamities, but we still have to work, I guess, to make it last. Maybe that's really the theme here.
Yeah.
You don't get them handed to you, you have to earn it. So,
Noted.
cool. The Hierophant is a teacher. He represents a group or class and is an authority. He has studied for a long time, has learned all that he can, and is passing it on to others as his life's work. He's all about tradition and using the old knowledge to teach the new generation. So, cool. Weirdly, this card comes up all the time for computer professionals. All right. All right. So, he comes to us as a means to an end, a pathway to gain the education that lets you live your most authentic life.
Well, that's fancy.
So, calamity, and then great things, and then work to keep the great things.
Okay.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I dig it.
I mean, I hope the calamity's not too calamitous, but you know. All right, Claire.
Yes.
So, what's it gonna be? What is going to be our topic for our next week on our Wheel of Fate?
Let's see.
I'm excited.
What we've got.
It's gonna be something.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Wild card.
Wild card. That means we get to decide what random thing we're going to bring to you. So
right. We
you're
talk about
welcome.
anything.
Who knows?
Anything.
Who knows what it's going to be? Well, amazing. So join us next time as we discuss who knows what. It'll be a surprise.
Right.
But until then, you can find us on all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, subscribe. Give us some comments. Let us know how you like episodes and what parts you like the best. And if you would like to send us some topics for our wheel or some stories you would like for us to cover or anything else, please send that to
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
Excellent. All right. So until next time, keep on brunching.
And keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch ask for